Hi, I'm Jürgen Strauss. Welcome to the very first episode of the InnovaBuzz podcast. The podcast designed to help smart business owners who are interested in all things innovation and the Internet of Things become even more productive. Now, today's guest in the very first episode is Scott Hunt from Aspiron Real Estate and Advance Homes. Scott's doing some amazing things transforming the way real estate agents do business by making use of the internet. Now, we're going to learn a lot today from Scott because he's changing his business model by making use of some advanced tools that are enabled by the internet. At the same time, unlike many other online businesses, his business is very much about people and helping people, and Scott ensures that the business remembers that even though their model is about the online space. Scott talks a lot about educating the clients and says that that is particularly important if you're doing something different than the norm and the expectation that people have in the real estate industry. Now, before we meet Scott, a quick competition announcement. I'm giving away today a copy of my 7 website design secrets to help you get more sales, video workshop and workbook together with resource guide. So stick around later on in the interview to find out how you can enter to win that prize. Now, today's innovation tip is reme.io. That's REME.io. This neat little online tool allows you to schedule email reminders to yourself or indeed to other people. So all you need to do is go to reme.io in your browser, enter the details about your reminder, and then schedule it to be delivered at a certain time and date. And then in your inbox at that time and date, you'll get your reminder. I find this tool really useful because I live in my inbox and it reminds me of the important things without having to go to some different system. So that's reme.io. Great little online tool, cloud-based, and Scott in today's interview talks a lot about cloud-based tools and how they are helping to transform the way he does business. So Scott has got some great ideas and insights. He is from Aspiron Real Estate and Advance Homes. So let's go to the Innovation Hive and get the buzz from Scott Hunt. Hi, I'm Jürgen Strauss, and I'd like to welcome you to the very first episode of the InnovaBuzz podcast, the podcast for those smart businesses interested in innovation and all things Internet of Things. So I'm really excited today to begin my podcasting adventure with a very special guest, Scott Hunt of Aspiron Real Estate and Advance Homes, who is transforming the way real estate agents do business by using innovation and the internet. So welcome, Scott. It's a privilege to have you as my first podcast guest.
Thanks, Jürgen. It's a privilege to be asked.
So before we get on to learning more about some of the innovative business models you're putting into place with Aspiron, let's find out a little bit more about you as a person. So when you were a kid, what did you want to be?
Well, I probably wanted to be a truck driver, actually, like my father was. So, Dad was an interstate truck driver, and so I spent a lot of time around trucks. And I guess I wanted to be a truck driver. I think Mum probably talked me out of that pretty quickly.
Okay.
But look, having said that, I also, I guess, from that, Dad had a dream of having his own trucking company and went down the path of, designing a logo and buying a truck and so on. And I guess that dream didn't quite eventuate for him, and that's perhaps what inspired me to build my own businesses, to follow on from that dream, I suppose. So that's probably more what I took out of that than the actual driving of trucks.
Okay, and that's interesting. You mentioned designing a logo and buying their own truck, because I believe your journey included getting into the graphic design business at some stage, right?
Yeah, well, I always had a artistic bent, I suppose, and I was always encouraged by my parents to follow that. So I ended up, doing graphic design for 15 years or so. I did a Bachelor of Arts and started off in graphic design, and then after a few years out, I found myself back in graphic design. So I worked for various companies, and then when I started my business, my first business, it was a graphic design and marketing business. So that was very much my career up till a few years ago when I changed to real estate.
Okay. And when did you discover the web?
The web, well, look, I probably came to a bit later than a lot of people, I suppose, particularly in my industry. I guess it was probably in the sort of mid-90s, I suppose. When I started my own business would have been about 95, I suppose, my first business, and probably even then it wasn't for a couple of years after that. I was very much a print-based graphic designer, so a lot of the work we did was for the printing industry. And so I guess as I developed my own business, clients were wanting a more of a holistic service. So we started to explore the internet as a marketing option for our clients. I think initially we worked with people who are experts in that field, but as time went on, it became more and more of our business, I guess.
Okay.
And we jumped fairly quickly into from being way behind the eight ball on the internet. We kind of jumped fairly quickly into video and live streaming of video and that sort of thing, which nobody else was really doing at that time. I said mid-90s, I mean the mid-2000s, so around 2006, 7, 8, that sort of time.
Okay. And so how did you get into real estate? How did Aspiron come about?
Well, I'd had a lot of clients over the years as I worked for my own company and also for the company I worked for previous to that. We had a lot of real estate clients. So we'd been doing sort of printing, design and marketing for the real estate industry for a number of years, and I had clients all across Australia, from the largest real estate franchises in Australia to the large independents to a lot of small companies as well. So I'd sort of observed for a number of years how real estate agencies marketed themselves and market their clients' properties. And I guess one thing I realised was that they pretty much all did it the same way, that real estate was a very conservative industry. Not a lot of leaders out there, a lot of followers, and a lot of people hesitant to try something new in case it loses, they lose market share or lose business or whatever. It's a very competitive industry, and it's a very sales-driven industry, as you probably know. So, I've always been someone that likes to perhaps not do things differently for the sake of it, but to find a better way to do things. So I always felt, with that knowledge, that real estate would be a good industry to perhaps get in there and shake a few things up or try a different take on an old business model. So that was probably the attraction for me in real estate as much as anything.
Okay. So how do you describe what you do now in one sentence? What's the elevator pitch for Aspiron?
The elevator pitch would be that we help people achieve their dreams through property.
Okay, that's
pretty. So in that, I guess we recognise that people come first, and whatever we do it with that in mind. Yeah.
Okay. That's a very good catchphrase, isn't it? People come first, and so you help with property.
That's right.
Yeah. So what do you spend most of your time doing day to day?
Well, look, we're still a pretty small business, so I do a bit of everything still. But I guess what I like to be doing, a lot of what I do is strategy. It is management of people and management of tasks. I'm still very sales focused, so I still do a lot of sales, following up of sales, but also planning for the future, planning for the growth of the company, and looking into better ways to do things and refining our model. We also offer our model to other agents, so it's about refining what we offer and making sure that what we offer is relevant, I suppose.
Okay.
So a lot of big picture stuff. Still have to do a bit of the small picture stuff as well, but yeah, a lot of big picture stuff, which is good.
Yeah. So what's the one thing that keeps you awake at night?
What's the one thing that keeps me awake at night? I don't know if there's one thing, but certainly, as a small business owner, I think you would understand that we often have nights laying awake, thinking of various things, thinking of better ways to do things, I suppose, thinking of ways that we can stand out from the crowd, from our competitors. But probably for me, it's the one thing that really keeps me awake is making sure that our customers are happy, making sure that we're doing a good job, that we're following up, that we're communicating with them, that we're providing something that makes them want to go away and tell their friends and family and so on, I suppose. That's probably the one thing.
Yeah.
I come from a hospitality background, in between university and actually getting back into the graphic design industry. I did a lot of hospitality work. And there, of course, you learn one of the maxims was the customer's always right. So I did come into business with a very customer-focused background, I suppose. So yeah, that's probably the one main thing.
Yeah. And so what are some of the challenges you're facing in building up this business, particularly with kind of transforming the business model a little bit from the traditional methods that real estate agents use to market and sell property?
Well, I think any small business owner would probably agree that the biggest challenge is cash flow. So from purely a small business point of view, it's definitely cash flow. We're still sort of inside 2.5 years of starting out. And I think a lot of small business owners know that sort of 2 to 5 years is still a bit of a challenge, and so cash flow is an issue. But look, probably beyond that, and in relation to what we're actually doing, and the fact that we're doing things a little bit differently to the traditional real estate model, is that we do have to convince people that what we're doing is the right thing. They've seen real estate being done a certain way for so long. They've seen, agencies with big retail space shop fronts. They've seen agencies advertise in the newspaper. They've seen, these typical things that real estate agencies have always done, and then they see us not doing that, and they wonder why. They wonder if we actually know what we're doing, or we have to educate them about why we're doing it that way, and that it's actually to their benefit. Rather than them thinking that we're just not very good because we're not as visible, on the street or in the newspaper. So, yeah, I guess it's that. It's it's understanding that we need to take our time. It's going to take time. I think it's great to be a pioneer in something, but sometimes it's probably in a short-term sense, it's easier to be a follower. So I enjoy being a pioneer, but of course, yeah, you've got to appreciate that not everyone's going to get it until you teach it to them.
Yeah, yeah. So a large part of it is education then, around doing things differently, and different may not be necessarily bad, even though people have certain expectations around what real estate agents do and how they do it.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I mean, I don't want to do things differently for the sake of doing it differently. I want to do it differently because it's a better way to do it. It's a better way for me, without explaining the model, I suppose. It's a better way for me for my lifestyle. It's a better way for agents who work under the model. And it's better for our customers because we're not so focused on those big overhead costs and meeting those costs every week and month. And I guess, it's better for our customers as it costs them less in marketing fees and, all these sorts of things. So we're doing it because, I certainly believe it's a better way to do things, not just for the sake of doing it differently. There's plenty of companies that go out there and say, well, we're different, we're this, we're that. But generally they're not different at all. When it comes down to the core function of their business, or B, they've done something different for the sake of being different, and it's not necessarily a benefit to anyone.
So what are some of the key things you're doing different in business that are kind of innovations and are changing the game, but also benefiting the customer, as you're saying?
Well, I think, you talk about the internet, and I think that provides us with a great opportunity to do things differently, to do them on perhaps a lower cost base. The old school way, I guess, of real estate is to take out some retail space, which is very expensive. Advertise in the newspaper, which is very expensive. And have a very strong, visible on-street presence, I suppose, or, physical presence. Whereas the internet offers opportunity to do it on a much lower cost base. It's more immediate and it's more cost effective. So that provides us with an opportunity to create a business model that isn't held to ransom by really high overheads, by high ongoing running costs and setup costs, which in turn gives me and agents who work under the model an opportunity to have a better work-life balance. And also, from a customer perspective, an opportunity to spend more time with the customers we've got. I think you'll find a lot of the complaints people have about real estate agents is that they're great at the sales pitch, they're great at getting you to sign on the dotted line, but the customer support, and the follow-up isn't so great once they've got you in the door, once they've got you signed up. So, I guess that's one of the big advantages, being able to run a lower-cost business model, which in turn gives us, the ability to spend more time with the customers we do have, but also from a personal point of view, being able to, spend more time with the family perhaps, or spend more time, whatever it is that makes you happy as a person, and not being held ransom to the business and the overheads.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. So what are some of the innovative things that you do that kind of generate some results for your clients?
Look, social media is one side. Look, social media is something that the real estate industry is still, I guess, experimenting with, as I think probably a lot of people still are. But social media is one area that we find that we can actually directly communicate with people that are out there, as opposed purely to the real estate websites. So that's definitely one area that they're experimenting with. I'm not saying we've got the formula exactly right. It's an ongoing process. I think everyone would agree that social media is still a bit of a mystery. So that's one area. Video, I think, is another area that we can work with very well, and video offers great potential for the real estate industry. One of the things I think that puts people off too is the cost of getting these things professionally produced. So one of the challenges for us is to come up with a format or a formula that provides a professional outcome but doesn't cost the earth. So there's a fine balance between, and particularly video, because you can spend thousands of dollars on a property video, advertising property. If you have to use a high level professional video production company. But on the other hand, a lot of agents try doing it themselves and it looks terrible. It comes off as very poorly done. So it's a matter of finding a fine balance between the two. So you can provide a service to your customers that's not going to cost them the earth, but that presents their property in a good light. So that's a challenge in itself. But video does certainly provide great opportunity. I think now, recently in the last couple of days, I saw something that said that YouTube's now the second most popular social media site in the world. So it goes to show how responsive people are to video.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one area as well.
Yeah,
but I think also what the internet provides us with, from a business model point of view, is the ability, the cloud. The cloud's a fantastic opportunity for businesses like mine, because it means we can run business from anywhere at any time. We don't have to have that traditional large office in order to house full-time permanent staff. We can use staff all around the world. We can use staff next door, next suburb, next state, next country. We can use them at any time from any location. And so it gives us great freedom and flexibility in how we run our business. So all our software that we use has to be cloud-based. from our content, customer resource management software, our accounting software, the software we use to load properties on the internet, everything we use. Dropbox is a fantastic tool for us, to be able to share files amongst staff in various locations. So the cloud and the technology around that and the opportunity that provides is probably the biggest innovation that we utilise.
Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating. Somebody was telling me the other day about YouTube that I guess under 30s these days, we talk about Googling things, but the first place they go to search for things is YouTube. So
YouTube, yeah.
So it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and it's great because, it provides a very hands-on, description of how to do things. You can actually see how something can be done. There's just about everything now. And the usefulness of these things is only, I guess, as good as the amount of content. And now YouTube's at the point where it's like Google, just whatever you're looking for is on there. So, if you want to know how to bake a cake, you can go to YouTube and see it actually. If you want to know something high level, you can go there as well. So it becomes a great tool. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about work-life balance. So what do you do when you're not working?
Well, I like to spend time with my family as much as I can. I think real estate agents are notorious for being time poor or not spending time with their family because of weekend work and so on. But for me, I guess spending time with family is something I love to do. I like to brew beer, so I do a bit of home brewing. Have a beer with mates, go to the footy, watch the footy, things like that. Just typical stuff that normal people do, I suppose. I do like to wind down. Like I do like to separate home from work, I suppose, where I can. I do like to say, okay, the phone's off. I'm not working for the next few hours or today or whatever. Within reason, I do like to be able to really switch off at times. So sometimes we go away camping or whatever. If we can't get phone reception, well, that's great. It means I'm forced not to work.
You're cut off from work. Yeah. So have you read any good? Have you read any good books lately that you'd recommend to people?
Look, I love reading. I read a lot, but I probably don't read a lot of business books as opposed to other people. I like to, again, for me, reading is often a way of removing myself from work, I suppose. So I can recommend lots of books, but they're probably not business
fiction
related.
Books. Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
It's Australian literature. I just finished reading a book called Illywacker, which is a long book, a difficult book to get through. But it's the third time I've read it. It's by an Australian novelist called Peter Carey, and it's a fantastic novel because it relates to a number of things to do with innovation, I suppose. The aviation industry and the car industries in Australia when they were very young, and but it also talks a lot about the areas I grew up in, Central Victoria, and through sort of gold mining towns and so on in Central Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a bit of a break up there for a minute, but hopefully we're right now. All right. Well, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business today, what would that be?
Oh, cash flow, no question. If I could have access to unlimited reserves of cash, then I could achieve all the things I want to achieve without constantly worrying when the bank balance drops down, and paying bills on time. But yeah, look, I guess for me, probably the one thing I'd fix would be something about myself, and that's patience. I like everything that happens now. I like to, I've got all these grand ideas in my head and grand visions and so on, which I know I can achieve, but you just need patience and time to achieve them. Nothing happens overnight. So that's probably the one thing I'd fix in my business would be something about myself, which is my lack of patience at times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good answer. Often people think, yeah, we'll fix something outside, but usually it's inside that needs the change, isn't it?
We know that very well, so don't we? So, yes, very much so. If we don't have the right skills within ourselves and the right skills, I suppose, and as somebody you and I both know says, if you don't get over yourself, then your business will suffer. So, for me, it is very much about what I can bring to the business, because I know that if I'm in the right space, then I can achieve anything that I set my mind to. So that's probably the one big thing. It's just taking these ideas and letting them pan out, and getting the right people around yourself as well, the people that can actually follow these things through with you and can implement the dreams and the visions that you have for you.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one of the big things you're working on right now?
Look, we're working on a few things actually. One thing we've done, you mentioned two businesses, Aspiron Real Estate and Advanced Homes, and on the Advanced Home side of it, we're really working on creating vision, mission, and culture for the business, so that we're about to start recruiting for some salespeople. So we want to know that those salespeople align with our vision, or my vision, as the founder of the company. So just getting all of that out of my head and into into solid documents, so that we know that we can pass that on. So really creating a culture of what the business is about, what it means, and what that means for the people who work for it. From the other perspective, from the Aspiron Real Estate perspective, we're also very much creating a systemised approach to lead generation, so that we can pass that system on to other agents who work under the model. So we're just finalising what we're calling a prospect nurturing system, which is a systemised approach to attracting and nurturing prospective clients for our business. So for me, as I said, I've got lots of ideas and visions and all these sorts of things for the business, but my difficulty is to then take it and put it into a system. So I'm getting help to do that, and once we create that, then we actually have a real business model to work with, rather than a bunch of ideas. So so there are a couple of things that we're working on, which is great.
Terrific. All right. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round. So it's designed to help our audience, who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field, to learn, tips from your experience and your business and background. So what do you think the number one thing is that anyone needs to do to innovate?
Well, believe in yourself, I think, is one big thing. I think a lot of people fall over because they have an idea and then they think they don't trust in themselves that it's a good idea. That's rubbish. So you've got to believe in your ideas. Believe in your visions. That's one big thing. You've got to surround yourself with good people. Good people that you can bounce ideas off, and whose feedback is going to be quality feedback and genuine feedback. There's an old saying, it's hard to soar like an eagle if you're surrounded by turkeys. Well, it's kind of that's a bit, but it's kind of true. You really need to surround yourself professionally with people who have a similar level of passion, I suppose, and skill and so on than yourself, and preferably a higher level of skill and passion than yourself, because you want to be able to aspire to something. So. And look and explore your ideas as well. You need feedback. You need genuine feedback from those people about where you're heading and your ideas, and exploring them, because look, not all ideas are going to come through. So you need to be able to explore them and make sure they're going to wash before you put in a lot of time and effort into them. So they're probably some key things, I think, when you're starting out.
Great advice. So what's the best thing you've done to kind of develop new ideas?
again, I think it's bounce them off good people. You know, yeah, I really do think that it really is about getting genuine feedback from good people, from people with more experience or better experience than you, or good experience, and not just in your field, but in all different fields. You know, take other people's perspectives on what you're doing. It helps you shape those. It helps you give confidence that you're on the right path. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best thing I've done is to reach out to really good, genuine people, surround myself with good people to take their take on things, I suppose.
Get input from other people, yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite tool for innovation or sort of being productive and capturing ideas and so on, managing it all?
Well, like I mentioned Dropbox before, I really like Dropbox. It's a great, you know, it costs next to nothing to run, and it just provides so much ability for me to further my business model. You know, whether it be sharing with someone, you know, overseas in real time or locally in real time, yeah, it's a fantastic tool. So I also use a little tool called Highrise, which it's a very, very simple CRM, but it allows me to record communications with my clients. So as a sales-based organisation, it can be very tricky. It can be very difficult to manage. If you're getting a lot of inquiries in, it's very difficult to manage the process as far as making sure you're keeping regular communications with people. And something like that, you know, you can automatically record your conversations with them as far as your email conversations, and then run back through those at any one time is a great tool for somebody based in sales. So, you know, and again, that's another cloud-based software, which is pretty inexpensive to run. So, yeah, so there are a couple of the tools that I really like in my business.
All right, thanks. What do you think is the best way to keep a client or a project on track?
Communication.
Yeah.
Definitely in my business, communication is king. You know, just keeping them informed. I mean, you use the words on track, but you know, if you're talking about keeping a client happy, then you got to communicate with them. Bad news, good news, whatever. Stay in touch with them, because it's better at least to, you know, if it's bad news or if something not going right, at least they're aware of what's going wrong and they know that you're trying to fix it, or trying to get the best outcome from them. So making sure you maintain regular communication with your clients and customers, I think, is probably the key thing.
And what do you think's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
Number one thing to differentiate yourself. We got to know what your competitors are doing, I suppose, to know how to differentiate yourself. So that's one thing. Research what your competitors are doing. Don't just, I mean, a lot of the times you look out there and you see these businesses that start up and you wonder how much thought they've actually put into them, you know. It might have been a great idea, but did you actually look at if you've got competition, if there's a market for those things? So yeah, I mean, the obvious starting point, it might seem a little obvious, but the obvious starting point is see what your competitors are doing out there and make sure that you're doing, you know, you're not just following them, you're actually setting yourself apart in some way. It doesn't have to be, you know, world changing. It could just be something fairly simple, you know?
Yeah.
And then talk to your potential customers and make sure that it's something they want, or, you know, that it's not. That's
a really good point. Yeah, you differentiate on something that's not important and it's no value to anyone.
Well, it comes back to there's no point being different just for the sake of being different, because plenty of people go broke doing that. So it's got to be different for a purpose, for a need, you know, for something that people want out there. And it's got to be based also more on than just your experience. So a lot of people say, well, I'd buy that. So yeah, it's a great business idea. But, you know, just because you buy it doesn't mean, you know, you're going to get enough customers to run a successful business. So it's got to be based on a genuine need, I think.
Yeah, great. All right, so what's the future for you and for Aspiron Real Estate?
Well, for me, really, I want to offer the Aspiron model as a model that, you know, countless hundreds, whatever, agents around Australia can work under. So, you know, for me, it's about changing the way real estate agents work. I mean, I read an article today, actually. It came through my email inbox from a real estate news website saying that 1 in 5 real estate agents are unhappy with their career choice and that they would, they wish they were doing something else. So, for me, that says there's a bit of a crisis in the real estate industry, and there's got to be a better way of doing it. So, when I switched over to real estate, there was a lot I loved about working as a real estate agent, but I saw a lot of hurdles in people's ways of making a successful career for themselves, but B, an enjoyable career for themselves. So for me, it's about utilising the opportunities technology and the internet provides us, and giving and creating something that makes a real estate career a better option for people, a more enjoyable, more successful option for people. So that's it, really, just refining that model and then getting it out there and showing the world how great it is, I suppose.
Oh, good. So where do you see the real estate industry headed?
Well, hopefully in the direction I'm going. But look, I definitely see it being more cloud-based, more virtual-based, less focus on the large retail space office environment, which in turn brings down the overheads and the cost of running the business. I see it more embracing of modern technology and the internet. I see it less reliant on newspaper advertising. And I see it offering people a far more flexible lifestyle choice, that's where I see the real estate industry heading, a far more flexible, low-cost sort of business model. And I guess perhaps more interaction between real estate agents and their customers as well. And more inclusive of property in general and buyers' needs and so on. Look, it's an interesting industry because, it's often very heavily influenced by outside forces. Yeah. When the economic climate is poor, the real estate industry, the property industry, one of the first, areas to be hit. Legislation can affect the real estate industry. Things like first home buyers grants and stamp duty and these sorts of things can really impact on the real estate industry. So for me, the way I see the industry going is into a far more flexible, sustainable business model that allows for all those things.
Okay. And what are your expectations from the future around the internet and the Internet of Things, where machines are talking to machines and increasing automation?
Oh well, anything's possible, isn't it? Really, when I think back to, you said when did you come up? When did you really get involved in the internet and that sort of thing? It's barely been. It's barely been 10 years, really. So when you think about what's happened in 10 years, we would never imagine we'd be where we are now. And 10 years prior to that, we certainly wouldn't imagine, so it's who knows what 10 years will bring. Look, I think that it'll just continue to be more intuitive, as far as the way people interact with technology. I think it'll be continue to be more intuitive. Provided it allows people to be involved in the technology. And what I mean by that is, rather than it being something that people use simply, I don't know, from laziness or whatever, it has to really involve itself in people's lives and improving people's lives and improving the sustainability of the way we live and so on. So that's probably a bit abstract, but look, it's difficult to know, really. Anything's possible. So I just think that it's just so much opportunity for us to be far more flexible in the way we work, as in not being office bound, not being bound by 9 to 5, being able to work as we live, and I think that's where the importance of technology lies. So somehow being more interactive with the way with people, more intuitive, more interactive with the way we live on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So what's the number one piece of advice you'd give anybody in business that wants to be a leader in innovation and in their field?
Look, just get out there and have a go. I think don't let people tell you that that you can't do it. Just because nobody's done it that way before.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself, believe in your own abilities, but again, surround yourself by good people that can help you with your vision. Don't go and do it alone.
Yeah.
That's probably a bit of advice. But, I think believe in yourself, but also seek the help and guidance of others. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's really been fascinating, Scott. Thanks for that. So where can people reach out to you and say thank you for all your insights?
Well, they can find us on Facebook. So we've got a pretty strong presence on Facebook. If you search for Aspiron Real Estate or Advanced Homes, you'll find us. You'll find us there. You'll find me on there on Facebook, Twitter as well, and also through our website. So you can Aspiron, aspiron.net.au. You'll find us. Just do a search, you'll find us.
Okay, great. So finally, who would you like to see me interview on the InnovaBuzz podcast?
Who would I like to see you interview? Oh, that's a good question. Someone not in real estate, perhaps. Look, someone in media. I'm not sure if I've got a name for you, but somebody that's utilising video, somebody that's taking media online. Whether it be television or print but utilising the online sphere to communicate with people.
Okay.
Media and art, online. I think that's very fascinating. So.
All right, we'll see what we can find.
You can find.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and particularly since this is the first podcast that I've done. So it's been fascinating today, and thanks very much.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for thinking of me.
I hope you enjoyed meeting Scott Hunt as much as I enjoyed interviewing him on the podcast. Of course, you can subscribe to this podcast via iTunes or Stitcher so that you'll never miss a future episode. All the show notes for this episode will be at innovabiz.com.au/Scott Hunt. That's SCOTTHUNT. All lowercase, no underscores, no hyphens, just innovabiz.com.au/Scott Hunt. That'll include links to everything we spoke about on the podcast today. Now to the competition. What we'd like you to do is leave your comments underneath the video for your chance to win a copy of my 7 website design secrets to get you more sales video workshop together with workbook and resource guide. Leave the comments and tell us the most innovative tool you're using in your business and how you're actually using that. So be innovative with the tool, but also be innovative in the way you're using. So it requires a little bit of thought, but that's what we give a prize for. I'll get Scott to swing by in a couple of weeks and award the prize. Please give us a 5-star review on iTunes because that really helps us get more listeners. Until next time, remember, if you don't innovate, you stagnate. So think big, be adventurous, and innovate on.